Hey, what's going on everybody? Today I'm going to be making a poster out of one of the albums in my CD collection. I don't know what the album is going to be yet, but I do know it's going to be a Bauhaus poster design. So hopefully whatever the randomizer picks, it'll fit. Before we get started, please remember to hit like and subscribe, and also click the bell for notifications to be notified of all future content. Now let's head over to the randomizer. Alright, I have all of my CDs copied onto my clipboard, so let's go ahead and paste them in here and pick a random item. The Cars. Alright, this is going to be a great one. So this is their debut album, and I'm going to go grab it. Alright, so here's the album, The Cars. This is their debut album, and one of the best debut albums that I've ever heard, at least. This is one of those albums that plays like a greatest hits album, where every single song is just awesome, and you really don't skip over any of these. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just kind of flip through here really quickly. I'm going to do it a little off camera. I'm going to see if I can grab a color palette from anything that's inside of here, because we've got a lot of, like, if you look at the cover, you know, it's the girl behind the wheel of a car. You've got the red lipstick right there, which is great for Bauhaus. Blue, and you got some skin tones and everything, which, you know, like, we obviously could, we could just kind of draw a little bit from the yellow in the Bauhaus color palette and everything, but we've got a lot to work with here. So I'm gonna flip through this really quickly and see if there's anything that I can get a little bit more inspiration from to make it a little bit more artistic. All right, so really the only thing that I noticed when I was flipping through here is, if you look at this this right here, this is kind of like a collage. And so what I might do in here is actually, I might do like a, kind of like a grid system with all of the different squares that are in here. Of course, these are a little bit more like rectangles, but what we're doing with the 18 by 24 inch is what would be a common size for Bauhaus, or at least, when at least when converted to the US sizing. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, I'm probably going to do something like that, where I do like a layout of this type. Alright, so I've got my document open here in Illustrator. Like I said earlier, this is 18 by 24 inches. I'm not going to worry too much about adding any bleeds, because I'm probably not going to get this printed. But I do have a couple of color palettes here. So this right here is like your basic Bauhaus color palette, where you've got black, red, yellow, white, and blue. And then also I dropped this one in here just because I want to pick up this background color right here, and I'll just do that with the eyedropper. And then I think after that, I'll probably be done with that particular image. So I'm going to go ahead and set my background here, and drop this right here. So I got that, and I think that there isn't anything on here that I want to use from this particular color palette, even though I do like it. Actually, you know what? I've changed my mind. So I'm actually going to delete this one and only use this palette right here. So I'm going to rotate this, make it a little bit easier to work with when it's on the side right there. And I am going to actually I'm just going to go ahead and start experimenting with what I have here. So I'm going to just get some text onto the artboard, and then I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so what you want to do when you're doing like Bauhaus or even Swiss design is, when you're working with like these basic shapes and everything, you want to just experiment as much as possible. So what I did here was, I just kind of did like a curvature on each one of these boxes, and basically kind of what I'm wanting to convey is, like, just kind of like some curves and shapes of a car. So that's kind of what this ended up being. I decided to ditch the green. I just didn't think that it was working well, but I do like how everything is all together here. And when I look at this, it kind of looks like maybe something like you would see like on a car emblem or something like that. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going in. And this font that I chose right here, this is called Benny Black, and it's got a very 70s vibe, but it also fits really well with Bauhaus. So I'm gonna just keep going and continue getting text on the artboard, and then I'll come back whenever I feel like I have something valuable to say. All right, so here it is overall. So this is just everything as it is in Illustrator before taking it into Photoshop and really doing anything with it. I think what I might do here is just, since this is on a blue and a red background, I may actually turn this white right here. And since I'm gonna be bringing this into Photoshop and just applying a few effects to it, I'm actually gonna go in, I'm gonna select everything that's white. Let me just do this just to make sure. Select everything that's white and then just kind of bring it down maybe this much to where it's not a pure white, so that whenever we do our effects, it'll still pick up everything. So now I'm going to, I've got my background layer locked, and I did that on purpose. So I'm going to select everything that's here, copy this, and then bring it into Photoshop, and then do that background color on a separate layer. So I'm going to do this background on a separate layer, and the reason why is because if I get a little bit too far down the road with this and the effects are not working out for any reason, then I can always go in and change the color, and I can see the results in real time. So that's a pretty cool, that's a real nice feature for any Brian Regan fans that are out there. All right, so like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing just a few little simple effects with this. First thing I want to do is I want to try, I'm going to try this well, I'm going to call it grain, but it's not actually going to be grain, because I'm going to go grab a different grain file, something I downloaded yesterday. I'm just going to try a couple of things out just to kind of experiment. But what I am going to do is add a little vignette, maybe like -10 or something like that, and then just do like an overlay, just so slight to where you can barely even notice it. So I'm going to go into where I've got my all of my design resources, and I actually downloaded a couple of these yesterday. So I'm going to try, what's the one I found? Oh yeah, vintage paper. So these right here, I'm going to try a couple of vintage paper effects. So these are some nice ones that I found right here. One of the ones that I liked, I think, was the very last one. So this one's nice, and it also works really well for Bauhaus because of the color palette. So what we'll do is we'll drop this underneath the grain layer, or what we called the grain layer, to make sure that that vignette always applies to everything underneath the layer itself. So as you can see, when we actually have this in here, you can see the little effects with it. I'll turn off this right here so you can see the difference here. So like I said earlier, it's really subtle. So now I'm just going to go through my blending modes, and most of the time, Multiply does a pretty good job, but it darkens everything. If you do something like lighten, then that'll kind of blow everything out. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to look for something kind of in the middle of the road. Most of the time, overlay works really well for this. As you can see, it is brightening up our blue and our red right there. But there are definitely some things that you can do to go in and adjust these layers here. You could always do something like that, which is inverting all of the colors, but it is giving it a very interesting texture. But what you can do is you can invert this again right here and then get a different color palette. So you've always got a lot of options there, and this is really giving it a nice 70s vibe right here, especially this very, very washed out. So it's always an option there. If you want to completely move away from the Bauhaus, even though you've started with the Bauhaus colors, you can certainly do that just by using some blending modes and then hitting invert a couple of times. So I think that I'm gonna kind of circle back around to multiply. Multiply is looking pretty cool, and actually color burn is giving a nice effect here with all the colors and then the paper itself. But it looks like what we're gonna have to do is probably go in maybe with let's see, either soft light or maybe multiply, and then just go in and brighten our paper layer right here. So all we have to do is clip this to the paper layer and then just go in here and brighten this. And you want to do it to a certain point where you still see those effects right here, because if you go too bright right here, then those effects are lost. So you want to bring it to about this level right here where you still see a good differentiation between the colors. I really wanted to make sure I said that word correctly. So I hit it nice and hard. All right, so then the very last thing I'm going to do here is probably just apply a nice Gaussian blur across the whole layer of the art, just to kind of make it look a little bit more vintage, a little more aged and faded and everything like that. But you want to make sure that since we're applying it to the whole layer, that it looks good everywhere, because like you've got larger text, you've got larger shapes, and you also got smaller shapes and smaller text. So somewhere between 1.5 and 2. I probably wouldn't go any higher than 2 on this. And then what I might do here, even though I said I wasn't going to do a grain layer earlier, I'm probably going to do a noise layer just to add a little bit more definition, and you don't need much, maybe like 3% or something like that. And then we'll just apply an overlay right here. And as you can see, it is definitely giving some more texture and more definition, even though it's very, very subtle. But you're seeing it a lot, especially in the medium to darker tones like this blue right here. So I'm sorry if you can't see it. Like I'm trying to be as high definition as I can without killing my computer. So anyway, so here is my Cars debut album Bauhaus Bauhaus poster design, and it's basically, I guess, if you were to assign it a category, it's probably, I would say probably just a promo poster for the actual album itself, due to release on June 6th, 1978. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching me make that Cars poster. That was fun. If you learned anything in Photoshop or Illustrator in this video, I know I didn't talk a whole lot, but even if you did learn something, please comment below, because I like reading comments like that. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe, and also click the bell for notifications to be notified of all future content. Thanks a lot for watching, and thanks for all you subscribers out there. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.